Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crafty Soup. My name is Misty. It is one of my favorite times of my schedule for the month, which is to do my mystery box project, where I take a box of mystery supplies, open it up, pull out 3 items, and make something with it. So let's go ahead and dive in. All right, I got my box of mystery items from a store that was going out of business, so it was a fantastic deal, and this box was jam-packed. I've gone through about half of it now, so I've still got plenty to keep me busy. I'm going to go ahead and reach in here and pull out 3 items, and while I do that, I will say that Pink Fresh Studio has their own mystery boxes on sale right now for about $39 plus shipping, and Freckled Fawn, know that I do have an affiliate link for them, but I also have a 15% off coupon for them as well. I don't know if that will apply to their mystery box, but they have, I think theirs is called the Lucky Box or something along those lines. I will leave you links down below if you're interested. All right, I am pulling my items out of my box here, and I grab 2 ink pads right off the bat, and I'm hoping that I get something that will go with them, and sure enough, I get a stamp set. So my brain starts working on this problem as I start thinking through these items. Now, this Distress Oxide ink I thought I might already own, but it turns out it was a different brown that I have, and this one is Twigs. I forget what the whole name is. Now, the Ulta New inks, I have never tried their inks before. This one's called Caramel Toffee, and I thought it would be a brown even though the packaging looked orange, and sure enough, it does have an orange undertint. So I did kind of swatch these out. I did read the back of the Ulta New ink just to kind of see what it had to say. And one thing it did say was that their ink pad lid snaps on to the base for an easier handle. So that's kind of a neat little feature. Now I know they've changed their line of inks. I don't know if they've discontinued these ones or just added new ones. But at any rate, those were interesting ink pads and it was fun to use it. Now I am doing a water reactivity test. I know the Distress ink will react to water. I've used plenty of Distress ink. And most water-based inks will also react. Some have stabilizers and things in them. I don't know the chemistry, but some water-based dye inks will not react to water, but the Ulta New ones do. So that's what I wanted for working with these inks. And as I was pondering the stamp set, I thought, you know what, let me work on an art piece that's kind of been on my mind for a little while. And that is to frame something artful that I've created in my room with all of my crafty supplies. So that's what I'm going to do today. I grabbed some Vicky Bouton mixed media paper, and I'm going to mark it so that I can tape this paper to a hardboard. This case, I'm just using my clipboard. And that way, all the water and stuff that I put on it will not warp the paper. It's not going to be a lot of water, but there will be wetness and there will be drying, and that tends to bow the paper. So I am going to tape it down to help keep it as flat as possible. All right, with that done, I did go to my stash and pull out a collection of stencils. I wanted just some general patterns, some florals, and then some text prints so I could do some layering of stenciling. And I did pull out a whole bunch more inks because I want each little square to be a little bit of a vignette focusing on each of the ladies that are in this stamp set. And I did like this stamp set because it has a message of kindness to it. And I think that definitely resonated with me. And so I wanted to focus on that message in particular. All right, so I am going to ink up each of these little vignettes with a vignette style shading around the edges. And down here in this bottom corner, because there's only 3 ladies in this set, the bottom corner is going to be the message. So I had to kind of pick and choose colors I wanted to go in each corner. And I used the Ulta New down there on that square that I'm doing right now. And then I used the Twigs from the Distress line up there in the corner on the right. And then this corner here that I'm using the blue on now got both of those 2 inks from my box as well as some extras. And then like I said, I pulled out lots of extra inks to go with this project so that I could have a nice variety to go on with this vignette. And I decided to keep it more neutral for my other ladies vignette. And that one gets, I believe that's the newer Lost Shadow color from the Oxide line. All right, and now we're going to add some layers with these stencils. Because of the kindness message, I did want to include some hearts here, so that is where I'm going to use the heart stencil. And since that one is the one that is going to have that kindness message, there's also a little tiny globe in this stamp set, and I'm going to include that globe along with the message. to complete that portion of the art piece. So there's a little bit of a look there. This stencil is a scripty stencil, and it's kind of a Western style writing, but it is so general that it's not legible in any way. So I am going to use that stencil to add texture to all of the areas, even though different parts of the world have different writing styles. I figured it is general enough that it won't detract from the other areas. It did require a more specialized blending tool than these foams that I'm using for most of the project. So I've got this little paintbrush style blending tool, and I believe that's an Altenew tool, but I'm not quite sure. I will leave a link to it below when I confirm where that tool came from. All right, so here you can see I've added more text to that corner. Up here in the top, I'm adding a few little floral buds, and there will be more flowers added to this project at the end, but this is where I'm going with all of the stenciling. So again, a little bit of fine stenciling here with that text stencil, and I really like just the little bit of texture that it adds. And ooh, as I was using this purple, it's very saturated. So I sprayed some water on my cloth, and I'm kind of dabbing up some of that ink with my rag to try and mute that down just a little bit. And I think I got enough of it off. Now you can't erase it completely, but because it is water reactive, you can kind of mute it down. And so I think I got it muted down enough, and I'm using a much lighter hand when I do the rest of the stenciling. So I'm a little more cautious, and I keep checking and peeking. And all right, here is a look at the layers of color that we have going on. All right, so I'm going to turn to stamping my ladies on there. And because I want them to stand out more from that background that I've, done artwork with, I am going to go ahead and heat emboss these ladies. And I've got some gold embossing powder. I'm pretty sure that's a Ranger embossing powder, but it might be Hero Arts. I'll put any links to products down in the description blocks below. All right, I did make sure my piece was nice and dry because Distress Oxide ink does hold moisture a lot longer than regular dye inks. So I did hit that with my heat tool to make sure it was nice and dry before I do heat embossing. Otherwise, that embossing powder will stick to everything. And as you'll see here in just a moment, I didn't dry it quite as much as I could have. And also I forgot to use my anti-static powder, which would have helped with this problem. But I did get some speckles around my lady. Luckily, it wasn't too much. I could just use a scrap paintbrush to brush off the excess. And once it's heat set, it is looking beautiful. So I'm very happy with how this idea came out. Sometimes I have ideas and I try them out and they don't work. This time around, I think I did pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with this one. Here we go, fixing up the final square on this artwork. There it goes. It says less judgment, more kindness. Now that teeny tiny scripty font can get lost a little bit when heat embossing. So I'm going to repeat that message again later on in the project. Until I get to that, I am going to add that little globe that I mentioned over top of the words so that they kind of layer together. And I need to mask off those words because they're going to be in the front, and that's going to make my little globe send to the back. And once I get that heat embossed and I do the magic reveal of everything, hopefully you can see how pretty this project is coming together. And I wish I had mathed a little bit more thoughtfully because the spacing in between each of my vignettes is larger than I think it needs to be, and that leads to the next step of this project. But before we get to that, I'm going to save all of this tape. This is just a little binder that I created out of 2 sheet protectors and some extra cardstock and little binding clips, and that is a place where I save all of that leftover tape to keep reusing, and you'll see that tape come back on this project in a few minutes. Now I've got these 2 little floral punches. These are from EK Success, and I bought them at Michael's years and years ago, so they've been in my craft space for a long time, and they do get a lot of use. So if I can find those, I will link those up for you as well. I am going to use lots of these little flowers to add some 3D dimension along with the rest of the texture I've added to this project. And I'm going to ink up these flowers with one of the pinks from my stash, and then I'm going to use that Alto New as the floral center because it does have an orange tint to it. It's going to work well to be my floral center. So with that same, well, not the same, but with a similar of those kind of paintbrush blending brushes, I am going to ink up these items. And there you go. You can see a quick peek at how those flowers will look in the end. Now, I am going to also mold these flowers. And I couldn't find the tools that I usually use for molding. I suspect my daughter has borrowed them. So I just grabbed a regular stylus from my supplies, but I noticed that it was leaving gray smudges on there. So I did go ahead and find a pen that had a rounded bottom to it, and I'm going to use that instead. And that prevents any of that smudging purpose. And if you don't have a stylus, you can use that kind of tip as well. All right, I am getting these flowers set up on my project. I am layering some of them up so that they're more full flowers, and I'm leaving some of them single and having them kind of drift down the project. All right, this is the step where I want to repeat that message because that message really resonated with me. I think the world has been through a lot of not kindness in the last few years, and I tell you, it's been stressing me out a lot. And so doing what I can, both in my craft space, as my own version of art therapy, and then having a very specific message of kindness has been a good thing. So I really enjoyed getting this project down. Now here I am kind of molding that stamp to meet the shape of the banner that was also a part of this stamp set. And I think they missed the mark. They could have had that stamp pre-molded, but the nice thing about photopolymer is that it is a little flexible and you can bend and twist it to get it to align to your project. So here's a little peek of that. Now the banner wasn't big enough to fit the entire message, so I did end up stamping 2 separate banners and cutting the message, not physically cutting, but using masking to trim that message into 2 separate pieces so that I could adhere them into the middle of this project. And not only does that help fill in that large gap in between the vignettes, it also repeats that message that I find so important. All right, so just a few finishing touches here, getting most of those flowers, all of those flowers glued down. As you can see, I tipped it and nothing fell off. And then you can see the finished project and the shine that it has here at the end. All right, I am going to be giving away the stamp set, the Alta New ink pad, and this piece of artwork as one prize. I tried to give away prizes at the end of these Mystery Box Monday projects, but the last few projects haven't been really great for that. So while I really love this set of ladies and the kindness message, I am going through a destash in my room, and so I am not going to keep that one, and I would like to offer it up to some of you who might be interested. Please do read all of the giveaway rules down in the description of this video so that you know how to enter and how to claim your prize and how not to miss claiming your prize. All right, I will leave you with just a couple pictures of the final project. I hope you enjoyed this project, this crazy Mystery Box Monday thing that I do. And I will be back soon with more crafty videos for you. So until then, have an artful day.